Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with the jazz duo of pianist and composer Forey and producer Edy, known as Edy Forey. We caught up with this tandem to talk about their new and debut 2024 CD called Culture Today. We also got into how they met, the music, and the future ahead. Based in Edinburgh, UK, this eclectic sound lives on the groovier side of jazz, a fusion of soul, retro rhythm and blues, house music, and hip-hop, simply known as urban jazz. It's evolved and tasty. We cover quite a bit. Enjoy. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City, Missouri. All right, excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
Where are you located today?
Edinburgh.
Okay,
Up
wonderful.
north in Scotland, yeah.
I love it. I love the album. I got it. I'm still old school, so I pop that thing in my CD chamber and I drive down the road, so I loved it.
Love it. We love doing that with Edy, actually. That's where we share our musical interests. We're going to drive sometimes just for the sake of listening to music, you know?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I love the artwork. I love the sound. It's very innovative. And that's the beauty of this modern era of jazz, is that there's all of these new infusions of bringing in the old and bringing in the new and just doing a spin on things. So it's refreshing. So thank you for taking a minute out.
Well, thank you so much for having us, and thank you for your compliments. We are definitely quite vintage in our musical taste, to be honest. We don't really listen to what's around at the moment. I'm really into kind of, jazz and funk and groove, and it is really much into the 70s and the Motown, Marvin Gaye and the likes.
Yeah.
Donny Hathaway as well is a huge influence.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, soulful music.
Yeah, absolutely, man, for sure. Well, let's dive into it here before we get into Culture Today, which is a very apt title for the album. I want to begin with, 4 years ago, we were wrapping our heads around a global pandemic, and it really sent ripples through the musicians in the world. How did you get through that time period, and how did it change you?
Yeah, that was a blessing for us, because we knew we wanted to make an album together. Indeed, we met quite a couple of years before COVID. We got caught in daily life, you know how it is, but full of ambition nevertheless. And when the first lockdown hit, we thought, we have time on our hand. It's time to do it now. So let's do it. Let's start recording our first tune, which was Culture Today. We were praying to find a great sound engineer. We were wondering how can we make the recording sound as good as possible. Edy started learning how to mix music on internet, watching YouTube masterclass from Bob Power. And eventually we thought, you know what, let's just send the guy an email, right? We never know, and nothing to lose doing that. A month later, we received an answer from him, and he said the song kills. He loved it, which was amazing. It was an honor for us, because we were wondering, we really want to find a sound engineer who's seen it all and who knows the sound, the old sound of music, and that was it. So we started a relationship with Bob Power during lockdown, and that really motivated us to then keep going with more songs. It took us about 3 years to do the whole album, nevertheless. Quite a few songs that we've not added to the album. Maybe they will be on the next one. But yeah, the lockdown was a period of reflection as well, for sure. I think many people around the world have experienced a deepening of their soul and their mind during the lockdown, because it has given everybody a time to think about the big questions of life as well. And particularly in our case, it has been the opportunity to think about group dynamics and how ideas can be shaped in society, how movements can be shaped, and how to remain an individual when the whole world is panicking. That is quite a theme in the album as well. A theme of, I'd say, non-conformism, someone might call it, or righteous non-conformism rather, not a rebellious type, but inviting everybody to not necessarily follow the crowd, think for themselves, and reach to higher standards and higher values, and maybe perhaps even from the spiritual realm. I think that's a message behind the album. That makes sense. Edy has just joined us. Yes.
Oh, okay, cool, excellent. So while she does that, I wanted to ask you. The imagery is iconic. It's an iconic painting with a spin on it that's musically infused. What was the idea behind picking that?
I think the simplest way to put it is that we're trying to join forces with the divine, with God we can't see, with the source of holiness and purity in the world that is so carnal these days. I think something that personally I felt compelled to do is to speak out against, let's say, a very carnal culture that we have created recently. And I think in the last 20 years, since around 2000s, it was very oriented towards women presenting themselves as certain in a certain way that I don't personally subscribe to, which is sexual objects. So I don't even know where to start with this, because the fact is, obviously I'm a lady and I am very concerned with the way women are in this world. So one of those things that I wanted to do is to make an album that's more spiritual and intellectual, rather than, hey, I'm sexy and I'm kind of feeling like a little sa'a, so that would be one of the reasons why we went to this kind of anti-carnal route. There's space and time for everything, but I thought that in the cultural scope, we are missing music that is dedicated to the divine. So we wanted to do that this way. What else is it? It's obviously a classical painting, Michelangelo, Sistine Chapel. We wanted to riff of that because it is a beautiful moment where, the humans and divinity come together. And we wanted to do that on the album. And this is the visual representation of that. And I also inserted, a female into that equation because it was Adam and God. But, I wanted to be there too. So it's not just Adam. So yeah, I guess it makes sense to say that this is humanity joining forces with divinity in order to create something really beautiful and heavenly, rather than just kind of gritty and Cardi B-ish type.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. That's why I do jazz music. So let me ask you this. How did you two come together to create music? It's your debut, but how did you come together? How did this musical union happen?
Forey, do you want to take that? Or
yeah, sure. So we met. In fact, I was a fill-in keyboardist. Edy had a band back in 2018, and I just joined one of the practices to fill in. Very shortly after that, the band fell away. But I kept in touch because, in fact, the first time I met Edy, she really struck me as a quote-unquote true artist, for lack of a better word. I went for the stereotype, but I really felt like she was someone who thought, but not only that, she was very, very sensitive about the art we put out. For example, she would present to the band a new sketch of a song she would have made on GarageBand, and I could feel how intimate it was for her to share the music. And I thought, if someone is so intimate about the music they share, there is a lot of soul, there is a lot of artistry going on there. That person has something to say. And then I listened to some of her recordings and her demos, and I thought, right, she definitely has something to say. When she sings, I feel like she's speaking to me through the headphones. I feel like there is an actual person singing rather than just a great singer. There's also the meaning on top of it. And it makes me think that's such an important variable in music, right? You can have the greatest music, but if you can have on top of that the meaning and the intent and the genuine singing of the genuine expression of an artist, that there's huge value in that. And I thought it would be great to cooperate. And then we met, we talked, and we realized we actually feel about the world around us in a very similar fashion. So maybe perhaps that's what I noticed in Edy at the start. And so we decided we were going to make music together. We really weren't sure how to go about it first. It took us about a couple of years to get started, I would say. But as I said earlier, when the lockdown kicked in, that's when we got serious about it.
That's right. And just from my perspective, it was a case of Forey filling in, and I just thought he was one of the best musicians that I've ever seen on the circuit, because Edinburgh is a really small music scene. So I thought, wow, this guy's really, really good. And apart from that, we kept in touch because my band that I was trying to lead split up shortly after. I was so fed up because I didn't even know how to lead a band. And we kept in touch, and I thought he was such an encouraging, nice guy, and then I discovered actually he's quite a deep thinker as well, and we had so much in common. And that was literally it. We just kept in touch, and then we started making music together, writing things together.
So I was mentioning before you got on the call that, this fusion of music together, which is, kind of, soul and retro and blues, and, there's elements of hip hop and obviously jazz, or what
Yeah.
you've called urban jazz. It's kind of the modern evolution of of jazz.
Mhm.
How do you feel about all of your previous influences that got into this ultimate sound of urban jazz?
So for me, I think I really pulled all these different influences and kind of fused them inside of myself together. And I would say that I'm bringing, the soul, the blues, and the hip hop. And then Forey is bringing the jazz, the funk, and a little bit of classical music because he grew up around it. And yeah, it's a natural thing for jazz to stop being, let's say, such a I don't know, like non-mainstream form of music, I suppose, because I mean, this the sole fact that jazz is sophisticated will always separate it from other genres. But there's just something to say about modern times, and I think people's hunger for something a little bit more. I don't know, something more than a beat, because obviously with the existence of electronic music and how everybody can make music on the computer now, it's so fast to create new stuff. There's tons of new music, but with the retro and the jazz and the sophistication, etc., we really crafted something that was both today, both accessible, but had that kind of edge of sophistication to it, if I may say. So that would be my take.
Yeah, I would say to that, I think I'd like to mention that although my musical influences and my musical heroes had a massive impact on the output of this album, it's never been conscious. We've been absolutely free in the way we were creating the music. When I would come up with some songs or chord progressions or whatever beats on the piano, I would really just patiently wait, maybe sometimes for a couple of months, for something satisfactory enough to come out. And then turns out that, yes, okay, when I listen to it now, I can see some links, perhaps a bit of Chikara and Agape, perhaps a bit of Herbie Hancock in the riff, the funky riff of Better Way. And I listen to these people a lot, and I listen to very few artists. In fact, tend to listen to a couple or 3 albums a year or something like that, and I really delve into the albums until I get tired of it. But yeah, the way we work, I've never tried basically to reproduce something I know. Be it a beat or riff into the music.
Yes, same here.
I let the subconscious speak, basically. I think that's how we both approached it.
Subconscious, or even, I think basically the people that influence my music, I think, are true artists, if there's such a thing. I don't think any of them were concerned with commercial success, for example. So it rubs off you, and then it makes you feel like, okay, I want to access the truest part of myself and express it, So that would be it. Yeah, definitely never calculate anything, never try to sound like anybody who's already there, because I think that's phony. I would rather just be truly who God made me to be and then express it. So I think that was the mindset. We just wanted to be the truest, the most honest we can be, and all these influences, if anything came out, it was very organic.
So why does this musical union work so well? It's obviously a conversation, and it shows on the album, but from your estimation, why does this work, and do you have other projects that you're planning?
Yeah, I think we both feel like we're not meant to make music with anyone else, at least at the moment. It seems to be very much of a meant to be. It seems to me that really we've been put together for that mission, for this album. We get on together so well in terms of ideas, in terms of aspirations. We both are ambitious. I think that helps a lot as well. So we don't shy of daring making the greatest album of all time. That's the philosophy in which we work.
Please don't laugh at us, because it's quite claimed it's the best album of all
It's
time.
a claim, but it's a goal. It's a goal to reach, direction to work towards. Might not be the result, of course, but it's the mindset, right? It's why not making something great? Why not working hard on it, and with all its imperfection at the end of the day, of course. And I think we match very well in this. I think myself as well. Another reason why we work so well together is Edy is fantastic. Although she wasn't trained musically traditionally, she's fantastic at having a very good musical intuition, the musicianship. In a sense, that's very handy for production. So I would come up with the draft of a song, but then she would be great at knowing what should we shorten. Maybe we should add a little something there. Maybe that chord is not the right one exactly. Maybe there's a little too much of something. I think knowing when too much is an incredible skill in music. Yeah, and this is invariable. And also, I'm the kind of guy who can start a lot of creative ideas, but it is able to also finish them and put them together. So that's an incredible cooperation. And then lastly, I would say also, it required a lot of perseverance to make this album. Sometimes it would feel like everything was against us. And when one of us is down, usually every time, in fact, the other one is up and pulling the other one up. And it's been really amazing. So working in a team like that was a blessing. I couldn't imagine putting this album together just by myself.
So at the end of the day, what do you like the best about being a professional musician?
It's the ability to express ourselves, you know? I think, I particularly have just nothing else going on in my life, you know? So, I mean, I've got no earning power and whatnot. So I feel like I'm really entering something where I can prosper by doing something meaningful, you know? Everything else that I could touch is, it's just, it wouldn't fill, you know, the need to say something or to make a little dent on the culture. So I think the best part of it for myself is the fact that I can really use the gifts that God's given me and try and steer the world in a direction that I would like it to see. That I would like it to see go. Does it make sense?
Yeah. No,
Good. Because I can't see your face. I'm like, maybe he's hating this.
No. I was just wondering if there was anything else to add.
What would you say, Forey?
Yeah, I think it's true. I mean, there is this idea of fulfilling the quote unquote true self. You know, we both feel we're artists. We are meant to be artists. We're meant to be putting music out there. I also believe in God, so I believe that there has something to do with that, and therefore it's a bit of a responsibility, if you want. It wouldn't be good for me to sit on my couch and not do it. And something I've learned as well, definitely, is the importance. I mean, as an artist, we can really dare saying things, bringing up topics and subjects and themes and conversations in society through music. And music is such a fantastic medium of doing so because it speaks to so many people. And it's also not, we live in a world where nowadays everything is so polarized and so divided. And I think everyone's sick and tired of that. And it's lovely to being able to start conversations that are very important with beauty. And the other thing I really enjoy with being an artist is the possibility to really bring objective beauty in this world. I think beauty is something that is so needed. I think it really points to the divine as well. It's a window to the divine. And that's why it's so important to have artists around the world, whether it be visual artists or musical artists, to work hard at making something that is universally beautiful as much as possible. Out of dirt, or out of anything, out of bare materials, and I think this is a wonderful thing, really.
Well said. So I'm curious, you know, one of the things that's very key in our development as people that love music, whether you make it or you spin it on the radio or you just listen to it, is the live shows that we get the chance to see. What was the first live show that you ever saw that blew you away?
Personally, I was. Do you want to go for it, Edy?
No, you go for it first. I think
I was absolutely blew away by Stanley Clarke. In fact, I think that's the best show I've ever seen. It was a last-minute show, improvised. They weren't supposed to play. It turns out they were traveling through Glasgow 6 years ago he was traveling with his trio. And they decided literally 24 hours before they posted a message on Facebook and they played in this venue, which is in the chapel in Glasgow. And it was absolutely incredible. It was really improvised. I don't know if the fact that the gig wasn't meant to be there initially made it even more special, maybe for the musicians. But there was also Beka Gostiashvili, the Georgian young jazz pianist, who was a trainee of Chick Corea himself, and I think he's absolutely incredible on the piano. Not only he's technically very proficient, but he's very soulful as well. And it was wonderful experience. And notably their cover of the jazz standard "Goodbye Pork Pie Hat," I think is they've put a spin on it. They've been able to play jazz fusion, but jazz fusion sometimes speaks too much to the head. But they've been able to really speak to the heart while playing jazz fusion on this standard, and really it was a very emotional experience. Yeah, that would be for me.
And for myself, I mean, I remember walking away from live shows feeling like, wow, I really got my soul, you know, watered with something. But I can't remember who did that to me. I remember also going to a Janet Jackson's concert, and I think that was the biggest concert I've ever attended. And walking away kind of on a high of the music, but also feeling a little bit unsettled because I suppose from the music, particularly the music that she had put out in the 80s, I had a very kind of, you know, nice and innocent view of maybe what was about to occur. But it was very highly sexualized, and it was, yeah, so it was a lot. So I kind of have, I just found an example to the contrary in my head. So I'm sorry to say that. But other than that, also, you know, I watch a lot of live shows online. I see Whitney, for example, and the way she moves the crowd. And the biggest influence for what I would like to come across live would be Phyllis Hyman. And also, I never had a chance to see her perform, but there was just something about the way she could express her soul on stage. And she famously hated to sing in the studio, that I just thought, wow, I would love to be so free and just getting that raw truth of what I'm feeling out into the mic. So yeah, regret to say I've never, it hasn't happened to me in a live performance yet that I saw in the flesh. But yeah, I love watching old YouTubes from the 70s, 80s.
Well, that's the beauty of the modern era, is that we can all partake in anything that we want as far as the musical spectrum is concerned. So that's a perfect lead in to me asking, what are you going to do for live shows, touring, putting this music out? How is that going to transpire?
We've got a couple of gigs lined up, and they are going to be the biggest gigs to date, particularly the one in East Sussex in England, which is Love Supreme Festival. And I think the capacity there is 25,000 people at once, which is going to be huge. And I think the plan is to give them the best possible performance, the rawest soul, you know, and try to craft some sort of showmanship, but just something that feels authentic to us without, it's funny because I'm getting two different type of advice from two different kind of people. Sorry if I sound like I can't speak, but anyways, so some people say that being a performer is about becoming another person. When you get out there on stage, you're supposed to embody somebody else. And I got that advice from very well-meaning people on the top of the echelons of industry. And I thought, I wouldn't want to do that. Can I not just be myself? And there's another type of advice that I've been given before, which is just be yourself. Don't try to put anything on, because you'll find yourself divided between two different characters. And it's best to kind of always fuse it into one. So I don't know, Joe, if you have any advice in regards to that, which philosophy you would subscribe to, but I think I'm tempted to try and go along with the idea of always being myself and not try to create a character, because I'm scared that new character might be something that people will start to think that I'm something I'm not, and I would rather just always be myself.
Well, I think the legends and practitioners of jazz especially has been very clear about the only real way that you're going to sway people is being true to yourself. Right. Charlie Parker had said the essence of who you are, I'm paraphrasing, will come through your horn. Miles Davis even said it took him a long, long time to figure out who he was, to translate that. And the way the world works, I think in politics, being phony works, but not in art. So I think that's probably the best route to go down. But the album culture today, if anyone, I encourage everyone to go out and get a copy. Where's the best place for people to pick up a copy and to find out about these live shows that are going to take place?
We've got send us a message. I know we are a little bit late, but send us a private message on Instagram or Facebook, because we have CDs and vinyls coming out very soon, and we can even get you on the pre-order list. That will be out in the next month. So stay in touch with us. That's for the physical, yeah. Then to check out our dates, go to our website, follow us on Instagram. And a lot of new updates to come, exciting things to come as well. And if you see us live, maybe you'll have the chance to see some songs that are not on the album and will be on the next one. And be excited about that.
Well, as I said up front, I've been very impressed, enjoyed listening to this in my CD chamber in my car, and I wish you the best of success with the album and as you kind of take off and your careers take off. So thank you for taking a minute out today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much, Joe. Great to talk to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening and tuning into another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players and minds in the UK, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to the duo for their time, energy, and story. If you want to hear more Neon Jazz interviews, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us at YouTube, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to theneonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends. Hey Jazz fans, Joe Domino here, the host of the weekly Neon Jazz radio show and regular interview series being produced and distributed from Lee Summit, Missouri. We are quite excited to let you know about the first annual Lee Summit Jazz Fest taking place this summer on June 22nd, 2024 at the Bridge Space located at 210 Southwest Market Street. There will be 8 robust acts, including the Back Alley Brass Band and the great Lee Summit Jazz Orchestra. There will also be art vendors and food trucks to make this a must-attend event. All details can be found at www.bridgespace.us/jazz. We will see you there.
Neon Jazz.